By now, a lot of you probably heard the news about a large, prestigious institution by the name of Wells Fargo and a recent incident that they were involved in. This incident involves an individual who was at their desk. They sat at their desk for 4 days before they were found to be no longer with us, if you will. I'm trying to play with really nice with YouTube on that one. It honestly is nothing short of tragic. It really, really is. And I want to stress that that's not how any of that should work. I feel that there's a lot of commentary that one could gain from this situation, and I have no doubt over the next, week, 2 weeks, internet outrage, generally just 2 weeks, right? Over the next week or 2 weeks, we'll probably see, Wells Fargo lay a little low. We'll eventually see maybe some sort of PR, here at Wells Fargo, we aim to have an environment that everyone feels they can be comfortable, safe, and okay in, yada, yada, yada. Sounds like a lawyer went through it, etc. At its core, I do want to stress that on their premises, at a location with allegedly 24-hour security, and I do say allegedly, not as a jab at the security. I have experience working in the financial sector. I have an experience working at a financial institution, not Wells Fargo specifically. That information is classified. I will not tell you where I worked, but I do have experience in finance. When I work at an institution that seemingly has more cognizance, is able to jump on some of these things faster. Not that I experienced the same situation, but I do think that it is definitely an L, if you will, in terms of Wells Fargo. That, my experience was marred with a lot of issues, don't get me wrong. It was not perfect by any means. And some of the issues that ended up happening related to demanding of overtime. My shift started at, X o'clock and went to Y o'clock. However, I had to be all signed into my systems and stuff by, 5 minutes before, but even then I technically couldn't sign in. So a lot of stuff going on there. A lot of conflicting policies, such as PTO. PTO being said to, oh, well, you're going to, if you are on break and it exceeds, 15 minutes, it will start coming out of your PTO, which I clarify multiple times. And then people just, it's one of those things that I have an unfortunate amount of experience with not only just the financial institutions, financial sector, but really just people as a whole. And I think that the important part to understand in this is it is still a tragic thing that happened. This should not happen. You should go to work, whether you work at a financial institution like I did, whether you work in a kitchen like I did, whether you work at a school, right? You should always be able to go to work, go to your place of business. You should be able to go there, feel safe. You should be able to be provided the tools with which you need to succeed, right? So, for example, working in finance, right, there's a number of tools that I had to do to access some external systems in a limited capacity, be able to fix some issues with some customers I was working with, right? Reasonable. A lot of people know what I'm talking about if they work with external systems like that. If a system goes down, say a funny one that goes down, and this goes down across industries entirely, Amazon Web Services, AWS, when that goes down, bro, everything goes down. Your job becomes so much harder to do, very strictly because AWS has gone down, and that is outside of your control. You can't control that. You cannot do your job because something has kerfuffled somewhere. And so I'm a huge proponent of you going to work, one, have the tools, two, feel safe, right? If you are going to your job and say you have a oil pipe, right? You're working with a fryer, you're working with oil, and there's a known pipe that just bursts or there's a spark next to it, your workplace should reasonably, in every single capacity, should always have to fix that, right? Now, I'm sure there's a bunch of machinists here. I'm sure there's a bunch of shop workers here that are like, well, my shop doesn't have that. I mean, God, I wish it had that. We have duct tape holding together, $400,000 machines. Duct tape, zip ties, and a dream, right? But that's not how that should work. That's never acceptable or appropriate until you start getting into business. You have to remember, companies are companies. Companies like Wells Fargo are going to want to make a profit. Generally, we can see things like this in regards to loan structures, right? Offering people loans, offering people certain percentages of loans. We can also see them trying to overdraft, right? If you opt into the overdraft program, overdraft being one of those things where if your account were to go into the negatives, your account were to go below zero, the institution, depending on your track record, can pick up that slack for a nominal fee Generally, I have seen this between financial institutions as less than an insufficient funds fee. However, that is one of those that I would absolutely recommend that you go ahead and check out, and with your institution, talk to them, see what your fees and options are. And obviously, when they cover the bill, you have to pay them back because you are in the negative, but also you have to pay that fee as well. So their goal is to make money, make it no mistake. And I've always had issues when businesses are, oh, we're a family. My financial institution that I worked with, oh, we're a family. We treat each other like a family here. No. I'm here for a job. And that's an important takeaway here, is that it is a job, right? At the end of the day, you are here. You are selling your body, your time, whatever you want to call it, right? I love saying I sell my body, right? But you sell it to your time, right? You sell your time to a company for a wage, for money, right? For some sort of compensation. That is what a job is. It is not an excuse for you to get bullied. It is not an excuse for you, like I have run into a number of times, to seemingly be the only person that cares about a project or job. It is not an excuse for the company to completely just ignore you for 4 days, thinking, oh, you're probably just doing work, or oh, she's really buried in her work, and it ends up that you had unfortunately expired in your cubicle with nobody checking on you. At minimum, it does fall down to a manager issue, skill issue, if you will. It falls down to a lack of cognizance, and I want to see where this goes. This is one of those things that I will point to when people say, why is my job so hard, or why am I doing so many things that 10 years ago I wasn't doing, right? At the end of the day, in my personal and professional opinions, from everything I've seen from people I've talked with, now we are doing more things than we have done 10 years ago. Just think about your job 10 years ago. How much were you doing, right? And it's just one of those things that this should never have happened, right? There's a number of people I could get angry about this. I'm frustrated about this. Don't get me wrong. This should never happen, right? I could get angry about it. I could, have this whole bit where I get, big and puffy and right? I could do that, but I don't think that really serves the point. If anything, I want to make sure that people know that this isn't appropriate. This isn't proper. I have it on good authority already from when I worked in finance. Through other individuals. Wells Fargo, there are courses for other financial institutions on what Wells Fargo has done, right? Like, there are things Wells Fargo has done in regards to allegedly changing accounts without, people's consent, right? Those kind of things, right? There are things that they have done that have sparked other institutions to have policies saying, yeah, we don't do that. So, just one of those things. I'm not making any sort of actual hard allegations here. What I am using is I'm using what is currently publicly accessible, one, to draw attention to a very serious issue in which somebody has unfortunately passed away. Not that it's tragic in every sense of the word. Two, to draw light that we need to be having conversations about workplaces, workplace protection stuff. I have a couple friends who currently work in jobs that don't even do. Well, that's so cool. We have that work in jobs that I don't know why they have to carry around something like Narcan, right? They have to carry around Narcan in case somebody in their presence, in their vicinity, overdoses. That is a wild thing to have to put on somebody. And at the end of the day, I think that the misnomer of quiet quitting is, it is a misnomer. You are paid to do a job. You sell your body and your time for a paycheck. You should not ever feel like this passing away in your own corner of the office, underneath the machine you're working on. In the walk-in freezer, right? You should never feel like this should be an opportunity. And I do think that we need to have conversations in regards to not necessarily holding businesses accountable, but making sure that businesses know we need some sort of protections. I'm not out here about to solve macro issues. You should definitely have an opinion about this, in my opinion, whether you favor the business in the situation, whether you favor the individual employee in the situation. And I absolutely recommend that, if you have any advice for others, if you have any insight into this, that you can obviously share. That's under OPSEC or NDA. OPSEC because military, right? This is one of those things that I absolutely recommend people sort out. I've mentioned a number of times that in my institution alone, we had a situation in which former U.S. Army, right? I worked with him. Excellent individual, by the way. I love that man. He ended up having a heart attack, and he was in the absolute next day. So that's one of those things I just don't have patience for. I do not have patience for when companies are able to, look at some of these things and do some of these things and claim, oh, well, it's not our fault. something has to change. I don't know what it is. I'm also not going to be the one to really figure that out, in my opinion. But definitely have your own opinion on it. Definitely, if you have any insight from years of work experience, right? Feel free. I guarantee you, and I know this is the unfortunate viewpoint with a lot of the older generation, if you will, boomers. I'm a boomer. Let's be real. Where it's not that we're lazy. I raise you at my financial institution. They had to start kicking me out of my desk. They had to start locking me out of my systems because I was working through my lunches and breaks. So if we want to have a discussion about work ethic and how, people are lazy, I mean, I absolutely, recommend let's have a discussion. Have a discussion about when are you going to start skipping lunches and breaks? Oh, but I'm legally entitled to those. Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, you can clearly see here at Wells Fargo that this person clearly worked to the point where they unfortunately expired. You see how much of a slippery slope that becomes? Protect yourself. You're there for a job at the end of the day. Get your paycheck. Do the best that you can reasonably and don't sacrifice your health. Thank you for watching. Definitely have an opinion on the Wells Fargo situation. I'll see you in the next one.